Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. Tomorrow is the feast of St. John Paul II, and he's one of my heroes for many reasons. He is part of his canonization process is that he exemplified courage and hope as heroic virtues, the way he lived his life. He loved youth. He loved the Eucharist. He loved our Blessed Mother. He loved the church. He loved people. He was an excellent evangelist. He had to fight both the Nazis and the KGB. I don't know of a more trying challenge of a life that was lived with such joy. He's a great example for me. And if you've never gotten to read this book here, St. John Paul II, St. John Paul the Great and his 5 loves, I highly recommend it. It's a super quick read. It's a great thing. But what I want to focus on today is sorrow. Most of us human beings experience some sort of sorrow regularly. Whether that means we struggle with depression and we just think everything is going bad in our life, or we have just kind of this cloud over our head that everything is seen through a lens of gray, whether that means we're experiencing the loss of a loved one, a disappointment of a dream, a sickness that we just can't seem to shake, or that doesn't seem fair that someone who we know and care about has to deal with, whether it's a friend moving away or having to deal with problems in the world or in our families or whatever. Sorrow enters into our life, and that's a normal part of our life. And it really is, it's not a condemnation against anyone that we experience these things, but it is a suffering. And what are we to do with that? A lot of people get angry with that, and they take it out on themselves or others. Some people just getting to dive deep into that sorrow defines everything. And one of the things that I love about St. John Paul II is he talked about how suffering is something that unites us to Christ. That Christ is with us in our suffering, and our human suffering, whatever it is, has redemptive value. Not because it's good that we suffer, good that we're experiencing sorrow and sadness, but by offering this in union with Christ's suffering, it has salvific value. And he wrote about this in different encyclicals and writings that he had, but the power of what we can do through suffering. And I will never forget himself as he's dying, and he came to the window at St. Peter's, and he couldn't talk anymore. He had lost his power of speech, but he came to the window to give his Angelus, and he just stood there and he looked out over the crowds and he couldn't speak. And how powerful that was as he was suffering from Parkinson's and whatever else he was suffering from. But this suffering did not define him. One of the last things he said to young people before he lost his power of speech was, "I have looked for you my whole life." Remember, he's the pope that traveled more than any other pope in the history of the church. He started World Youth Days, and he wanted to meet with youth all over. But he said to them, "I have looked for you my whole life, and now you have come to find me." Brothers and sisters, there is joy present even in our sorrows. Sorrow and suffering does not define everything. With Christ, there is always joy. There is always resurrection. And whatever sorrow you're experiencing in your life right now or will experience, I pray that you use it to unite yourself to Christ, that together with him, it becomes an occasion for bringing grace into the world. God bless you today.